there's going to be a super conference eventually. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. And I don't know that we even need to pretend that it's going to be a factor, because it is. Tennessee is going to make the super conference, and at some point it's going to be called the CSC, the college, or the CFC, whatever, college football super conference. And that's what's going to happen. So we've got conference realignment news. Army will join the AAC, Oregon State, Washington State, and talks to partner with the Mountain West. We can talk about this all day long, but does it really matter? Because I believe within 5 to 6 years, or at least when the television contracts come up in about 8 years, that you're going to see a super conference split from the rest. Here are the teams, and I'm not going to name them all because I want you to fill them in, that are going to make it out of the SEC. It is going to be teams like Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Texas, who of course joins next year, Oklahoma. Who am I leaving out, if anybody?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. That's a good one.
South Carolina
No.
produces enough revenue. They're a revenue producer. They're a revenue producer. The fans, the money is why they'll get in there.
No.
And also Kentucky for basketball.
Well, no. This is going to be a totally different.
It'll just be a football. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a football only.
Okay.
Just like Notre Dame goes in the Big East with basketball, and then they're a football independent.
Now ACC, but yeah.
Or ACC, excuse me. So no. I don't think Kentucky makes it.
I wonder if it's so. I actually think it's going to be a little bit different. And all right, here's my hot take. One, you and I both agree. The existence of conferences is stupid at this point, right? It's so arbitrary. I mean, there's no point for the whole point they existed was in the 1890s, so schools could set their own rules when football was played by different rules everywhere. And then they existed because of travel, to make travel easier and have a certain schedule because you just couldn't play every team in the country. And then they stayed relevant because of TV contracts in the 80s. Well, now, if all the schools agree to form some union to negotiate their own TV contracts as all independents, the whole point of conferences is dumb at this point. Just have all the best schools join a conference, and then you play your 5-4 rivals every year, and then just rotate a bunch of other teams on like a 70-team league.
It's especially dumb because there's no regionalism. There used to be the talk of the Big Ten and the SEC, which is better. Well, people in the Midwest and in that area wanted to say, oh, our football's better. People in the SEC wanted to say, oh, our football's better. But there's no regionalism now. Nobody at Ohio State's going, our football's better because UCLA just got a 5-star defensive tackle.
No one's doing that.
It's different. Like if you had conference pride, a little bit of you had to be okay with your rival doing well. Not that you rooted for them, don't get me wrong, but you're a little bit like, well, that just shows how strong the conference is. I'm not saying root for them, but now there's no regionality to it, so, with the exception of the SEC. And I would argue some that Texas and A&M and Oklahoma and Arkansas aren't really Southeast teams. So maybe that's eroded a little bit. Hell yeah, Missouri's not. But I would certainly tell you without a question that it's gone in the Big Ten and it's going to be gone in the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 is going to be all over the place too. So, yeah, I don't think conferences matter at all anymore. I mean, let's be honest. If the Big Ten came to Kentucky, and this was actually proposed by somebody that I know about 20 years ago because of the basketball tie-in. If the Big Ten went to Kentucky and said, hey, here's good news. We're going to double your TV money if you join the Big Ten. Do you not think Kentucky would jump? Because they'd be able. I mean, I think there's a good chance they jump.
I'm taking it a step further. That is going to happen. There will be one conference. It's a dog-eat-dog mentality, and one conference will be left standing as the one super conference, and that super conference is going to be the Big Ten. And I'm telling you right now, if the Big Ten called Tennessee tomorrow, Tennessee should leave and go join the Big Ten. Right now. Listen, hear me out. I've been on this for a while. The SEC is stuck in a bad contract with a dying network. ESPN will cease to exist in 10 years, okay? But they'll still have the SEC tied to them as they're bleeding money everywhere else. It's dying in relevancy as a network, and we're seeing that with the money coming through. And Tennessee is stuck. I mean, the SEC is stuck, giving them the best deal of a lifetime, while the Big Ten is out there making $1 billion a year compared to the SEC's $300 million, and they'll be able to re-up it before the SEC's contract with ESPN is out. You guys can complain and have your SEC pride or Southern pride or whatever all day. I'm dealing with facts and money here, okay? Because that stuff's over. Regional pride is out the window, okay? The Big Ten won. They've already won. And so they're going to consolidate, and that's why you're right about the teams leaving the SEC. But you know who's safe? The bad conference teams in the Big Ten. So Northwestern is safe. Illinois is safe. These really bad programs that don't deserve to have it being a super team, Rutgers is safe. But
Safe from what? They're not going to make a mega conference.
They are, because the mega conference will be the Big Ten, and the Big Ten's not going to kick out anybody that's already in there. The Big Ten won. It's over. It is over. The Big Ten won this matchup over who's going to be the premier conference. They had a smarter business plan than Greg Sankey did. It's just that simple. And so the Big Ten is going to sit there and consolidate and gobble up the SEC teams. And the SEC teams are going to realize, man, the payout, I'm generating way more revenue than I'm getting in from the SEC compared to what the Big Ten schools are doing.
If the Big Ten turns itself into the college super conference, all right, let's call it the CSC. Okay, if they turn themselves into the CSC, they're going to have to boot the Rutgers and the Northwesterns of the world if they want to bring in. I mean, you got to think about, this is above the Big Ten's level. I'm surprised that you think they're going to be able to call the shots on this, because somebody's going to have to call the shots higher up than commissioners of each individual conference. I don't know who that person is. Good Lord, it can't be Mark Emmert, because he's retired and he would take this Titanic into another iceberg, which he did with the NCAA. But it's going to have to be somebody above that. You know what it's going to have to be? It's going to have to be some Warren Buffett type guy, or is it T. Boone Pickens that
Saudi
says
Arabia?
Or Saudi Arabia. I mean, really, that makes this happen and says, I'm picking you and you and you and you and you. And the Big Ten's going to say, all right, I'm going to let you go, and I'm sorry, I can't take you. So like the Titanic, it's going to be women and children first. Actually, it's going to be men first, and the women and children get left behind, because it's going to be the Ohio States, the Michigans. It's going to be the Penn State. I mean, I could name you 40 teams that I think are locks to make a super conference right now. And I guarantee you that Northwestern, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Rutgers, Iowa State are not going to be in it. So both of the conferences are going to have to relinquish some of their teams to build a super conference, which will happen. As far as the SEC, the ones that I would be most afraid of, if I'm those in particular schools, would be Vanderbilt, would be Missouri, would be Mississippi State. Those would be the three that are on a different tier. After that, I would drop down a tier, and I would be concerned if I'm South Carolina, if I'm Ole Miss. But those top three teams, help me if I'm forgetting one, would be the ones that I would be like, no, you're up the creek. It ain't that.
Well, yeah.
You're playing Division II football now.
Mississippi State's in bigger trouble than Vanderbilt, because if the Big Ten does what I'm thinking and goes for the super conference, the Big Ten still takes into account TV markets, and we know about the national TV market with Vanderbilt. Although that doesn't matter if they're adding Tennessee, right? If you add Tennessee, you're getting the national TV market. So,
yeah. I mean, Nashville is number 2 behind Birmingham in college football television viewership, and it ain't because of Vanderbilt.
No, it's not. That's true. So
Travis says Arkansas before Ole Miss. To me, that's a coin flip. I can see it going either way.
It could go either way. Yeah, but no, both of them do bring in certain markets, because Ole Miss does bring Memphis and Arkansas brings in Little Rock, which are like smaller size schools. Mississippi State brings in what? Nothing. And
I guess you have to give Ole Miss a little bit of credit, because they don't come across nearly as racist as they did just a couple of years ago. Still running out the rebel flag.